Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. The Alpha's Orphan Daughter. Episode 2. Kara's POV. We are about to arrive at Blackadder, and I am so glad. We were all really stressed at the moment, and no one was speaking. Once we got our rental car, Brenna told us where we were headed. She had to use her mother's credit card to get the rental. She looked enough like her mother to pass as her to the rental place. Brenna had made a good choice to come here. We had all heard about the attack 5 years ago. They held their own and grew ever stronger after it happened. They have vampires living inside their pack and have a close relationship with the coven of vampires next door. I am hoping that their acceptance of other species includes witches. I don't want to be weak and useless. I want to be able to protect my sisters from harm. I am the oldest. The responsibility is supposed to fall on my shoulders, not Brenna's. I don't want to stay the weakest link in our family. I want to learn how to use my powers if I have any. If not, I want to get stronger and learn to fight so I can learn to protect my loved ones. I am so nervous right now. It was almost cancelling out the pain in my leg. I am so tired and weak. Something is really wrong with my leg. I can feel my injury is getting a lot worse, and I don't know why. We didn't stop to get more supplies. We didn't have time to stop for them. For some reason, Brenna was convinced that they are still after us. I don't know how she knows, but she said she had a gut feeling about it. She didn't know either, but I am sure that the goddess is helping us. I knew the goddess probably felt bad for us because of the ranked wolves killing our parents in cold blood. They didn't have a reason to do it other than lust. They have been with several girls in our pack. Why couldn't they choose one of them? Why does it have to be one of us? None of us has ever thought about them in that kind of way. Their actions and behaviors had turned our stomachs. The bullying that I had experienced from Rex and Paxton was bad enough. The fact that Clay had actively participated in it every chance he got didn't endure any of them to us. Brenna and Luna were very protective of me. They loved me, even if our parents didn't. They refused to allow me to be treated badly. They were just not able to be with me all the time. The bullying still happened, but I never mentioned it as they were upset enough about it. I knew that Brenna wouldn't rest until we were safe. She asked me to please hold on until we get there. I know that she and Luna were both worried about me. I could barely walk to the car on my own power. Brenna said that she would have me taken to their pack hospital to be treated as soon as she could. I didn't want to be the reason that we got caught, so I just bit my lip and stayed silent. Luna and I breathed out a sigh of relief when we pulled up to the gate. We had made it, but we all knew we would not be safe until we were on the other side of the gate. We were still sitting out here right now. Brenna was in the passenger seat and jumped out of the car as soon as it stopped. She started begging for refuge for us, telling the gate guards that we were being hunted. The guards looked out the gate towards our car. "How many of you are there in your group?" the biggest of the guards asked her. "3 of us. My sisters and I, please help us. We do not have very much time. We are being chased and they are trying to force us to go back to our pack. They will hurt us if they catch us," Brenna told them. This was the moment. We will know if they will grant us asylum very soon. The fear in her voice could not be mistaken. She was finally showing Luna and me just how scared she was. She had been holding back just how worried she was about us, downplaying the stress that she was under. My heart ached at hearing her speak. She panicked and did not attempt to hide it from the guards. She wanted them to know that we needed help, and we needed it now. "Open the gate," the guard in charge called back towards the booth. "Miss, please step inside and have your sister park here next to our booth in the parking area. We are already linking our Alpha now." Luna had just started driving forward when we heard someone honking at us about half a mile away. She quickly drove through the gate and parked where they told her. I could see her hands shaking on the steering wheel. We all knew who it was. How did they manage to get here so quickly? "Please shut the gate. They are already here," Brenna begged the guard. She had her back to it and hadn't realized that it was already sliding back into place. The guards were now putting up a second level of protection. We watched in surprise as several posts rose up from the ground as the main gate locked back into place. I tried to get out of the car, but my leg was heavy, and the pain had returned with a vengeance. I knew it wouldn't be able to support me, so I stayed in the vehicle. Luna got out and walked over to stand behind the car between me and Brenna. She was less anxious now that we were on the other side of the gate. They had let us in for whatever reason, and I can only pray that they will protect us when Paxton starts throwing his weight around. The SUV pulled right up to the gate, and all three of them exited the SUV. Paxton glared at Brenna before he looked at the guards. "These women are from my pack. I demand that they be handed over to me. My name is Paxton James, and I am the Alpha of the Kamaria pack," Paxton announced. His tone was authoritative and proud. He clearly expected his words to be carried out immediately. He seemed to forget that this was not his pack. "I am sorry, Alpha Paxton, but these women are now under our protection. You may wait and speak with our Alpha when he arrives. He is on his way now. But we will not allow these women to leave with you unless our Alpha instructs us to do so," the guard who allowed us entry replied. He didn't show the respect Paxton demanded from others. I already knew that this was going to go downhill quickly. "Didn't you hear me? I demand their return. They belong to me," Paxton fired back. He cannot stand disrespect. "I am sorry that you are upset, Alpha, but I am following orders. You can understand that, right? Would you allow your warriors not to follow your instructions? I can already tell from our short interaction you wouldn't, so please. Just wait in your SUV until my Alpha gets here. There is no need to keep yelling at me or my men. The end result will not change unless our Alpha tells us to return them to you. I will tell you now. I highly doubt that is going to happen," the guard stated before turning his back to Paxton and walking over to me. "Miss, may I look at your leg? I can smell blood, and I can tell that you require a doctor," he asked me as he knelt down on his knee in front of me. I have never been spoken to so kindly before, except by my family. The fact that this warrior was so kind to me made tears come to my eyes. I nodded at him to check, but when he tried to pull the leg of my jeans up, I cried out in pain. "Kara! Did he hurt you? What are you doing to her?" Brenna asked the guard as she ran over to me. "Do not touch her. She is mine. I will not allow you to put your hands on her," Paxton yelled over at us. He was looking through the gate, trying to see what was happening. I will have to cut her jeans off above her knee. Her leg is really hurt. I have already linked the pack doctor to be prepared to receive her at the hospital. She needs to be treated quickly, the guard said as he pulled out a knife and started to cut up the side of my jeans carefully. Once he cut around the top of my knee and slid the denim off, my sisters both gasped. My leg looked bad. The inflammation was much worse than expected. My leg looked swollen and angry. It felt tight, and you could feel the heat coming off it without touching it. I knew my leg felt bad. I didn't know that it had swollen to the point where my jeans couldn't be slid up anymore. I don't have a medical degree, but I knew that this went past a normal infection. I can only hope that the Alpha will not return me to Paxton. If he does, I am going to refuse treatment. I would rather die than go back to the Kamaria pack. I saw a blur to my left. Someone was coming so quickly that I didn't even have time to see who it was. He stopped behind the guard and looked at me with a stunned expression. He was very handsome, with blonde hair that was currently in disarray. His golden amber eyes looked at me with several emotions running through them. "You are here," he breathed out. He had come right to me, not even glancing at my sisters. He seemed to be here for me, which was odd because I am positive that I have never met this man before in my life. It was as if he were expecting me. I had never left the Kamaria pack before, so that would have been impossible. Paxton would never have let him into the pack. He had a deep distrust of anyone who was not a wolf. "Alexei, do you know her?" the guard asked as he stood up and moved back. A second man arrived and had been moving just as fast as the first man. Brenna stood protectively in front of me, blocking me from their view. I don't know if she would be able to run interference for long. Even I could tell that they were not wolves, so she should be able to sense that as well. I was not going to let my sister be killed trying to protect me. I didn't feel like he was a threat to me. We are not here to hurt her. We already knew she was hurt and only wanted to help her. My name is Dr. Dominic Gurin, the second man stated. How did they already know that I was hurt? I was just about to ask that question when my vision blurred, and I fell back onto the seat. The last thing I heard was my sisters calling out to me. Alexei's POV, she was even more beautiful than Yvonne had described. I couldn't take my eyes off of her. I wasn't going to leave her. I called to her sisters, "She needs to get to the pack hospital now. Take Dr. Gurin with you. He can help show you the way. He has been a doctor for a long time. He can help." There was no time to waste. I have waited so long for this moment. I was not going to lose her because one of those assholes hurt her. I was thankful that her sisters listened to me. I was not above taking her and running with her to the hospital. "Don't you dare leave. I command you to stay here. They belong to me and my pack. I will not leave here until they are returned to me," the biggest guy at the gate was screaming at her sisters as they got in the car to leave. I was glad that they were ignoring him as much as I was. I knew that I could trust her sisters and Dr. Gurin, but I hated to leave her. She is mine, and once I know which one of them hurt her, he is going to be sorry. "Robert, I do not know her, but she is mine, my mate. The woman that I have waited so long for," I answered. He seemed stunned to hear what I said. Robert, please do me a favor and make sure your brother, Kevin, is here in the morning. I don't care what you have to tell him, but it is important that Kevin be here first thing, I requested. I never asked them to do anything, so I could tell my request made him speculate as to exactly why Kevin needed to be here. Robert is the CO Gamma here, and my brother, Anton, is married to Robert's mother, Cheryl. Robert was not going to bow down to them at the gate. He is from Alpha blood himself. His father, Blake, had been the Alpha for the Black Moon Pack. I had heard what Paxton had been saying as I was heading this way. I was glad that Robert had been here to help them. I figured something serious was about to happen. I felt a pull to come and check on the gate. I arrived about 5 minutes ago, and their car pulled up right after I had been informed of what Jackson had requested. I knew he would not be handing these women back to them. I wouldn't either. I have met a lot of alphas over the years, but this guy is the most pompous one I have met, Robert told me before glancing over his shoulder. The men continued to yell at us, and I had finally had enough. Who hurt her? I asked. My voice was calm, but the threat was only to the one who had hurt her. I just needed an answer to my question. As soon as I knew who did it, I was going to deal with him. They all got silent, and I was just about to call Yvonne to come and point out who the culprit was when Jackson pulled up in his SUV. I am so glad he is here. I need to get to my mate as soon as I can. I knew that I would just be pacing around the waiting room, but the need to be with her was overwhelming. I ran here once I knew she had arrived. I had also implied that our visitors were special to him this morning. He probably didn't want to run up in his wolf form and be standing here with someone who was valuable to both of us. His mate had now arrived, but I hadn't wanted to spoil that surprise for him. He would know the minute he looked into her eyes. I will make sure he goes to the hospital with me so he can find her tonight. Wolves don't mind nudity, but I didn't want my mate to see him standing there like that. She is mine. She doesn't need to see him swinging in the wind like that. She will have enough on her hands when she gets to see me. I need to go slow. I didn't know how she would feel about having a vampire as a mate, but I hope she is receptive to it. I can't wait to give her everything her heart desires. I cannot believe how quickly I have already been wrapped around her little finger. I didn't even know that it was even possible. My heart feels like it has started beating again, just for her. Jackson walked up, and the power coming off of him let our visitors know exactly who he was. They wasted no time starting up again. He let them speak for about a minute before holding his hand up to tell them to stop. One of you can speak for the group, he told them. It was a power move, and I couldn't hide my smirk. As I told this guard, my name is Paxton James, and I am the Alpha of the Kamaria Pack. Those 3 women belong to me. I want them back, and then I will leave, Alpha Paxton announced. They ran away from you and your men, and I know why. You can go ahead and leave. They are no longer a part of your pack anymore. They rejected your pack and ran hundreds of miles to get away from you 3, I replied. I didn't want Jackson to even consider the lies that Alpha Paxton gave us. I would not give too much of Kara's story at the moment. We can discuss it later. They needed to know that we would not be falling for any of their rudeness. I would kill all 3 of them before I let them take Kara away from me. I saw the surprised look that Jackson gave me, as I had never interrupted him before. I just needed him to know that the girls had run from a terrible situation. They didn't need to be forced to go back there. You have no say here, bloodsucker. That is what is wrong with this pack. You will allow any disgusting creatures into it. It is a wolf pack, for goddess's sake. Do you think you and your family are being smart to allow anyone to enter? You need to learn to think for yourself, Jackson. Don't make bad choices that will lead you to have issues with me and my pack. I will not back down, they need to be returned, or there will be consequences, Alpha Paxton said with contempt. I am sorry, but they won't leave with you tonight. I will need to speak to all three of them before I can make a decision. Rest assured, it won't be happening tonight. It is late, and I am told that one of them is already in surgery due to injury. Leave your number with the gate guards. I will inform you when I have made my decision, Jackson told them. Can you at least give us shelter? We have traveled a great distance, all in an effort to get them back, Alpha Paxton asked. I wanted to jump over the gate and rip this throat out. They will not be staying here. They just wanted to take the girls back by force and leave in the middle of the night. No. I have not determined your threat level yet. I will not allow you to enter my pack. There is a reason they ran from you. You can head back to the city to find rooms for yourself and your men. As I said, I will call and give you an answer by tomorrow afternoon, Jackson told them and turned to head back to his SUV. The one who is hurt is my mate. I demand her return after her surgery is completed, Alpha Paxton blurted out. I don't think so, Alpha Paxton. I saw her. I was very close to her. She is not a wolf, and you are clearly marked. She is not your mate. I hope you realize that lying to our Alpha is not a good idea, Robert stated. He was starting to get even madder at Alpha Paxton's lies. You are just a lowly guard. It doesn't matter if she can't mark me or not. She is mine, and I demand her return. The other two have been selected as chosen mates by my Beta and Gamma. It is an honor for them to have been chosen. I will be contacting the council about you hiding our women from us. I will be getting them back, whether you like it or not. You are still a new Alpha. You clearly don't know that you need to keep good relationships with other packs. We are a very large pack. Don't be stupid here. Why cross me when I promise you it would bring war to your door? You need to think about that carefully before you make your decision. We will return here at 3 in the afternoon to collect our she-wolves, Alpha Paxton called out. You know what, I think I can save you a trip. I will not be handing them over. I will also be calling the council myself. They need to see what kind of pack you are running. Do not speak down to me, as you are only 2 years older than me yourself. You may have a little more experience than I do, but you are not a better Alpha than I am. Do not come back here. I will not be changing my mind about this. I will accept all 3 of them into my pack, Jackson told him before heading to his SUV. I looked at Paxton and said, I hope you do come back. As soon as I know which one of you hurt Kara, I will deal with you personally. I was glad to see them pale in fear. I was perfectly serious. I would make sure that whoever hurt her was hurt just as badly as she was. They will all discover that she is mine, and I would happily kill for her. I got into the passenger seat of Jackson's SUV and said, "Kara is my mate. She just doesn't know it yet. I will have to go very slowly to earn her trust, but I will not allow her to be hurt by them again. I meant what I said to them. If they are stupid enough to come back here, I will deal with whoever hurt her. I cannot let it pass. She has suffered enough at their hands. I won't allow it to happen again." Surprised, he looked over to me to say, "The injured woman is your mate? No wonder you were so stressed out. I am happy for you, Alexei. You know I can't want to find mine as well." I couldn't tell him that his mate was already here waiting for him. I won't take his moment away from him. He had been patiently waiting, just like I had. I wanted him to remember meeting her for the first time. I wouldn't spoil their special moment for anything. I knew just how important these women were. I also knew who the third sister belonged to, and they would meet each other in the morning. No sense in dragging it out. These women needed to be protected and finally be safe from Paxton and his men. Jackson's POV, I could tell that Alexei had something on his mind that he wanted to mention, but he stayed quiet. I guess he was excited and worried about his mate. I was happy for him. He was old, like old, close to 500 years old. That was a long time to wait for your other half. I sent up a prayer for him to the goddess. I was praying that she was willing to become a vampire like him. That way, they could live out the rest of their lives together. He deserved to find his mate. The closer I got to the hospital, the more agitated I got. My wolf, Ark, was telling me our mate was close. "Goddess, please do not let it be Alexei's mate." "No, I am sure I am wrong. The goddess wouldn't have done that to us. There were 3 sisters in total. I am sure that if my mate was here, that she was not going to be the one in surgery." I barely turned the SUV off before I threw open my door and ran into the hospital. I didn't even stop to shut my door in my haste. I just ran to go and find my mate. I scented her the moment I entered the hospital. I followed her scent to the waiting room outside the surgery area. As soon as I entered, I felt her fear and concern for her sister. I was already across the room and heading to her before she realized that I was even there. Her beautiful hazel eyes widened in surprise as I stopped in front of her. She was gorgeous and all mine. Her blonde hair was up in a ponytail that had seen better days. Her hair was falling out of it, but it only made me want to reach out and touch her silken strands. "Mate," I breathed out as she stood up. "Mate," she breathed back to me, nodding in acceptance of me. She was happy to have found me but still anxious about her sister. I took her all in. She was tall and tanned, clearly used to being out in the sun. She had a runner's body but still had some curves. She was perfection and all mine. I hesitated for a minute, not knowing what I should do. Do I need to ask her permission to mark her? Do I need to wait until her sister is out of surgery? I don't want her to think that I can't manage to wait a few hours to accept her, as long as she was definitely planning on accepting me. I have waited so long for you. You do not have to wait to mark me. I do not want to lose you, she told me quietly. I was so glad that she knew what I was feeling. I did want to mark her so badly that I was fighting Ark right now to keep from doing it. I want her. I need her. But I didn't want to scare or intimidate her. I wanted her to know that this was her choice. I wasn't going to force it on her. At her words, a warmth grew in my chest. I am overcome with love for this woman. I will mark you, but I need for you to mark me back, I replied. She nodded, blushing, and moved her tank over for me to give her my mark. I quickly extended my canines to place my mark on her. I felt the tingles all over me as I made her mine and then cleaned the blood off of her. I didn't even wait to be impressed with my handiwork. I only wanted to ensure that I carried her mark. I ripped at least 2 buttons off my button-up shirt to move it out of the way for her to mark me back. I heard a giggle to the side of us, and before I could glance over to see who had laughed, I felt my mate's teeth pierce my skin. The pain washed away in an instant, leaving me with only the feeling of pleasure spreading through me. She gently licked me clean. I looked down at her with my emotions all over the place. I felt happiness and surprise at finding her. I also felt pride in her. I can tell that she is an incredibly strong she-wolf. I had figured that when I met my mate, that I would have some party to celebrate our finding each other. Like a mating party. I had never once considered marking her in the hospital waiting room. I didn't even know her name, but I knew with my whole heart that I wanted her more than anyone else in the world. My name is Jackson, I told her with a smile. I couldn't wait to know what her name was. Her smile faltered for a moment before coming back. Wait, like as in, Alpha Jackson, she asked. I could tell that she already loved me. Thankfully, our mate bond was already working in our favor. It was a good thing that we were marked already. I would have wondered if she would have accepted me without being able to sense her emotions. I could read her concern that she felt like she wasn't good enough. Worried that others would judge her. It almost seemed like she thought that she was not worthy to be my Luna. I had to stop her as I did not want her to be worried. I wrapped my hands around her waist. I didn't want her to step back away from me. The goddess did not make a mistake. You were meant to be mine. I am happy to have found you. Can you please let me know what your name is? I cannot wait to hear you say it, I asked her. I kept my hands on her waist, as I could tell she was still thinking about running away. It wouldn't matter if she did. Where she goes, I will follow. Brenna, she finally answered. What a beautiful name, I told her, and she blushed and looked down at the floor. Thank you, she whispered. She was a bundle of nerves, and it wasn't just because her sister was in surgery. I could feel real fear coming off of her in waves. I waited for her to speak again, knowing she was trying to work up the courage to do it. You won't force my sisters to go back to the Kamaria pack, will you? We won't go back. If you are considering it, just let me know, and we can reject each other now before we go too far, Brenna said. I could tell that she didn't want to leave me. She wanted me but would protect her sisters with her very life. That made me love her even more. I would do the same for my siblings as well. I told Paxton to leave. I also told him not to come back. I was prepared to keep you all safe before I even laid eyes on you. I will fight him to the death if he even thinks about taking you away from me. You and your sisters are safe, I told her. She searched my eyes before wrapping her arms around me. She had carried the full weight of protecting her siblings. She was trusting me to do the same, and I would. I would protect all three of them. You two are so cute together, a voice squealed out from behind us. I looked over, and seeing the huge grin on her face, I knew I had found the girl who had giggled earlier. This is my younger sister, Luna, Brenna told us. Her name is Luna? Like that is her actual first name? Alexei asked. When we turned to look at him, his smile was covering his face. This is going to be priceless. What do you mean? Luna asked with a frown. I honestly don't want to spoil the surprise. I can assure you that you will not have to wait very long to receive it, Alexei replied. It hit me that he knew. He knew that one of the sisters was my mate, and one of them was his mate. Why didn't he tell me? I looked at him, knowing my expression didn't hide the question I was silently asking him. Just like finding my mate was important to me, I would not ruin it for you, Jackson. You have been waiting patiently to find her. How could I take your moment away from you? I wanted you to both find each other organically, without any interference from me or anyone else, Alexei said with a smile. I smiled back at him because he was right. Finding Brenna on my own had made both Ace and me happy. I was over the moon the second I opened the door to my SUV and smelled gardenia and vanilla. The gardenia was the most prominent scent to me. She smelled fresh and sweet, and her scent made her even more perfect for me. I will never tire of breathing her intoxicating scent in for the rest of my days. Speaking of mates, isn't there something you need to say? I reminded him. Oh, yes, your sister Kara is my mate. One of my men, Yvonne, had a vision, so I knew you three were coming today. It was the reason that you were immediately allowed into Blackadder. I spoke to Jackson early this morning. He made the call out to the gate. No matter when you arrived, you would be safe because he had already made the call, Alexei told them. Both sisters gasped in surprise at what he had said. I guess that they never thought that Kara's mate wouldn't be a witch or a wolf. He would end up being a vampire. Paxton's POV. How dare that son of a bitch refuse to give the girls back to us? I want to tear the room apart. I have never been so disrespected in all my life. They wouldn't even allow us to spend the night on their land. The fact that Lollyguard, that nasty vampire, and Alpha Jackson all dismissed me like that. They are going to find out just how big of a mistake they made today. I am calling the council first thing in the morning. I refuse to let them take them away from us. They are mistaken if they think that they can get away with it. Those women belong to my pack. I will never allow them to leave it again once I get them back. We were so close. I was sure of it. We almost caught them, and it makes me sick to realize just how close we had actually been. I wish Rex hadn't told Clay to start honking at them to stop them. The girls were running from us, for goddess's sake. Of course, they would want to escape once they saw how close we were to them. I saw Brenna step in as the car drove past the Fate. Once we got there, the gate was already back in place. We were so freaking close. We had to have been less than 5 minutes behind them. I don't know what Brenna had told them, but they needed to listen to us, not them. I was not going to lose Kara to them. That was not going to happen. The fact that the guard had smirked at us as they closed another barrier between us infuriated me. How dare he? I was going to make sure that he was disciplined in the morning. They let the girls drive off without giving them back to us, providing them shelter when they were rogues. Kara was a witch. I wonder if Jackson was aware of that? That an alpha refused to listen to reason, no matter what I said. They may have run away, but they were still lifetime members of my pack. None of us had hurt them, so they needed to hand them over. I will not leave here without them. I don't care what Jackson or the council said about it. We could no longer see any of them anymore, but we were not going to leave. They closed a solid gate into place while we were still standing there after their alpha drove off. No matter what we yelled over the gate, no one responded to us. I knew that was there, with the other gate guards. I could smell him. He thinks that he is so important. I have to make sure that the council steps in and makes sure he gets punished. He had no right to interfere like that. I am a ranked wolf, he is nothing. I think that I am going to need a formal apology tomorrow. Maybe make him get on his knees to apologize to me. Just thinking of forcing him to kneel and apologize made me feel better. We had stopped to grab food before we got to our hotel. Thankfully, they had an overnight laundry service. I was not going to show up looking like a vagrant. I am sure that is what they wanted, for us to look bad. We ate dinner silently before deciding the method we needed to use to get them back. I can't believe they let them into their pack. We could have only been a few minutes behind them. How could they have talked their way in there so fast? It is ridiculous. I mean, Kara is not a wolf. How could they just let strangers into their pack? We would never have allowed a witch into our pack. If she hadn't been Beta James' daughter, she would never have been allowed in ours in the first place, Rex said. He is right. We had to have been close. Why would they have allowed them entry? I think that we need to mention the witch thing and say that she did something in our pack. She did attack me. She deserves to be punished for it. It is no small thing to attack the beta of your pack for no reason, Clay stated. That is a good line to tug. We can also mention that they were just upset because they just lost their parents. That should show that they were not thinking clearly in the first place. I will mention that they have lived there with us their whole lives. They were just upset, I agreed with Clay and Rex. I will not allow that kid to take Kara away from me. They were all three coming back with us. We made some good points on a sheet of paper to mention to the council. My bottom line, I was never going to leave here without them. I don't care what Jackson said. My phone lit up, and I had to look up at the ceiling to gather strength for a minute before answering my phone. She will not leave me alone. What do you want, Lisa? I asked the moment she answered. I was just wondering when you were coming home, she answered in a coquettish voice. It used to turn me on when we were teenagers, but it hasn't done anything for me in quite a while. I am not coming home tonight, Lisa. I am having to deal with an important issue that came up, I replied. Let me guess, that important issue is Kara, right? Are you with her? You better not cheat on me, Paxton. I won't allow it. I am your mate. I will feel it the moment you do. Don't push me too far. I will not allow you to hurt me like that. You chose me, Remember, it was because I was the best choice in the entire pack to be your Luna. You need to remember that our pack members will never accept her, no matter what you do or say. So stop with all your plans, you are stuck with me," Lisa spat into the phone. "Lisa, I have 3 pack members in danger out here. The Blackadder pack took 3 of our pack members. Am I supposed to let them be tortured because you are jealous and have an issue with Kara? I would do this for any of my pack members. Have a nice shopping trip and take your time. I am going to have to involve the council in this. I don't know when I am coming home, you already know I left you father in charge. Don't spend a lot of money. You have a limit. It is $20,000. Not 1 cent more, I told her. I heard her huffing into the phone. She wanted more, but that was not going to happen. I will sit her down and have a long talk with her once she returns from this trip. She spends too much. This is the last one for the year. She is going to be annoyed about it, but that is a fight for another day. I already knew why she was calling in the first place. She wanted to work me up to try to get a higher budget. It was not going to work. I already knew what she was planning. I doubt you would do it for all of our pack members, but be careful. I would be fine with you just bringing Brenna and Luna back home. We don't need Kara there anymore. She is basically a human and isn't worth her keep, Lisa finally replied. You don't get to decide that, Lisa. Good night, I told her. I could hear her saying good night back to me as I hung up. I didn't think it was possible for me to get even madder than I was, but Lisa managed to push me to it. I wanted to crush my phone in my hand, but I forced myself to calm down. I need to focus on the problem at hand. I need to convince the council to return them to me. Once I get my hands on them, I will ensure they never get away again. That thought managed to get me to calm back down. I know she is your sister, but I am sick of her, I finally mumbled to Rex. You are preaching to the choir, man, I already knew, he replied. Let's get some sleep, guys. I plan on being on the phone with the council first thing in the morning, I told them. We need to get our stories straight before you call. We should meet for breakfast and go over everything. Then you can call the council and try to get someone out here to help us. They can't keep a council member out of their pack, Clay stated. He is exactly right. They couldn't prevent a member of the council from entering their pack. That is a great idea, Clay. Let's do that. We will go out to Blackadder with them and see if they dare to refuse us entry again, I replied. A few minutes later, they exited my room and headed to their own rooms. I got in bed and lay there for an hour. I was angry and frustrated. I wanted Kara in the worst way, and my mind wouldn't stop. I should have caught her before they got into Blackadder. How could Jackson stand against me? I knew that I would not be able to sleep, so I went to take another shower. We had all taken one earlier when we turned our clothes into the laundry service. We needed them back as quickly as possible. This had been a long day of travel, and I was tired, but I needed to deal with this growing issue first. I knew sleep would be impossible until I was able to come. I got the water running a little warm and got into the shower. I got a handful of soap and leaned forward to brace my forearm on the wall as the water slid down my body. I gave a few short strokes as I grew harder. My wolf, mace, flooded my mind with images of Kara's face and body. I wish I had just stayed behind in her room last night and ignored her sisters. I could have already gotten her pregnant by now. It was as if we both knew it for a fact. She would probably have fought me, which turned me on even more. Her trying to prevent me from taking her wouldn't matter to Mace or me. She was ours, even though I marked Lisa. I never wanted Lisa to be my Luna. I just wanted Lisa to leave Kara alone. I can't remember ever coming so hard in my life, not even my first time. There was just something about Kara that called out to me. She was not just beautiful, she was kind, and she had a killer figure. Kara was a good person. Lisa had every right to be jealous. I have never wanted anyone like I wanted Kara. I dried off and was finally able to get the rest I needed. Tomorrow was a big day. I needed to do my best to get her back. I was not going to give Kara up without a fight. Alexei's POV. The pack doctor, Maclean Hill, and Dr. Gurin both stepped into the waiting room and looked around. I walked over to see how Kara was doing, with her sisters right behind me. Kara is doing fine. She is resting in recovery now. She had an infection in her bone. She got it from whoever it was that grabbed her leg. The condition is called osteomyelitis. Basically, it is an infection in her bone. The punctures impeded the blood circulation inside her bone, causing the problem. We caught it before it went septic, so she was lucky it was caught in time. If she had gone another 10 to 12 hours without treatment, her prognosis would have been quite another story. Whoever hurt her, his hands weren't clean, and that was what introduced the infection into the bone. We cleaned her injuries and drained the infection in her leg. She should be awake soon, Dr. Hill told us. What were some of the symptoms she would have had, doctor? Luna asked with tears in her eyes. She would have had a fever, with swelling and redness in the infected area. It would have been very painful and also cause fatigue, Dr. Hill replied. I can tell that you both tried to care for her as best you could after she got injured. Dr. Gurin filled me in a little. Kara is a very strong young woman. Knowing what had happened, Dr. Gurin helped us get underway as quickly as possible. I believe that it ended up saving her life. When she arrived in surgery, she was more concerned for you two than she was for herself. Can we see her? Brenna asked. Of course, Luna, Dr. Hill replied. Smiling at Jackson and Brenna. Brenna was not expecting to be called Luna just yet, and it caused her to get flustered. Her blush lit up her cheeks as Jackson hugged her from behind. They were cute together, but I wanted to see my mate. I wanted to see with my own eyes that she was okay. Dr. Gurin had kept me apprised of what was happening in the operating room the whole time. It helped me to remain calm when I would have liked nothing better than to have gone to find Paxton and his ranked wolves and kill them all for what they did to my mate. Starting with the one who hurt her. I need to know which one of them did it. I am still hoping it was Paxton so I can end this whole thing right now. Who hurt her? I asked them. I could tell that my question was asked aggressively. I calmed myself down. I mean, did Paxton do it? I asked them in a calmer tone. No, it was Clay. He was the one driving their SUV today. He is the new beta, replacing our father, Brenna replied. Before we go back to check on her, we need to sit down and talk. We don't need to have this conversation in front of Kara. She is trying to heal, and it would only upset her more, I asked before motioning to some chairs in the corner. We will go back to check on her now. Dr. Gurin told me earlier that he would be glad to stay with her until you get there, Dr. Hill said as they turned to leave. Thank you both for saving our sister. We can't thank you enough, Brenna called out after them. They smiled back at us before disappearing behind the double doors they had entered the waiting room through earlier. I hate for you to have to do this now. I know you are both exhausted, but Paxton will return in the morning with his men. He will call the council and try to force you two to return to his pack. You need to tell Jackson the reason why you came here for shelter. Don't leave anything out. It is important that you do not return to the Kamaria pack. Paxton will punish you both if he can get you to return to his pack. I hate to mention it, but you both have mates. That supersedes anything he can say. He cannot force you to return with him, as you will have both found your true mates by the time Paxton arrives in the morning. I am a vampire and don't have an argument that the council would receive well. Thankfully, Kara is a witch, not a wolf. She won't be a part of the equation. Paxton plans to use her love for you and Luna to force her to return. We cannot allow him to do that, I quickly stated. They were shocked at what I had just told them, but we did not have time for them to be hesitant. They can't drag their feet. Paxton is dangerous. I cannot allow him to take Kara away from me. Brenna decided to come here because she knew they would be safe here. The goddess put it on her heart. It was not a coincidence that they came here. These women will help the two packs and my coven to strengthen. These women were handpicked by the goddess and Absalom. I pray that they decide to speak now so Jackson can get with Brandon and Justin and plan something out. I don't want to cause a war by killing the three of them where they stand tomorrow, but I would, just to protect Kara. You said that I have a true mate too? Luna hesitantly asked. Yes, you do. He will be here in the morning, and I am so sorry for mentioning it. I honestly didn't mean to ruin it for you. I only want to protect my mate. I am not as calm and collected as I normally am. I can't seem to calm down until I see her. I already know what happened to you at Kamaria. Yvonne saw it, but it is not my story to tell. You need to be able to trust your mate, Brenna. You need to tell Jackson what Kara told you. He needs to know the reason why you three left your pack. That way, we can force him to leave you three alone. The council will have to go there and investigate. That will take some time for them to do, and it gives us time to prepare for him to return. Because I can assure you, he will. He is not going to let his obsession with Kara go. She needs to be trained. If possible, she needs to be turned before he returns the next time, I stated. I know that Kara will not be on board for that just yet. I can already tell that I will need to show her the connection that connects us. I need to spend time with her to allow it to strengthen. She is my mate. My other half, and I want her desperately. I have been so jealous for the last 5.5 years, seeing how blessed my younger brother Anton is with his wife and family. They now have 4 children, and I want that for myself with every fiber of my being. I want to hold my baby in my arms. I want to show Kara just how much she means to me each and every day. There is no mistake. Kara is my mate, and I have sensed and seen her now. I refuse to accept anyone else. Brenna told Jackson what Paxton had done to their parents and why. I could tell he was just as sick overhearing it as I had been. How heartless could those people be in that pack? For them to be willing to take these girls' parents away from them, all to force them into accepting them as their chosen mates. It was disgusting. I knew how wolves knew who their mates were. They can scent each other and or feel it when their eyes meet. The tingles they get when they touch each other. A heightened bond between them makes them want to be together. It is different for us, for vampires. I am still absolutely intoxicated with Kara. Yvonne told me my mate was coming soon after he got his first vision. I have not been calm since he told me late last night that they were coming here. I didn't get the tingles, and she didn't know who I was to her when she looked into my eyes. I will have to work to make her love me, and I am ready to get to work. I am ready to head to her now. But I needed to stay here to ensure they gave Jackson enough information so Paxton couldn't take them away. We have to make sure that Paxton can't force Luna, or Brenna, to go back to his pack. It would be a death sentence for them. If Paxton can get Kara's sisters out of here, she would willingly return to his pack to try to help them. Paxton is more ruthless than anyone knows. He would wait for Kara to return and kill her sisters right in front of her if she pushed him too far. He would crush her soul into oblivion, and he would do unforgivable things to her. Yvonne has already foreseen it. He had another vision overnight and told me when I returned to my coven this morning after I met with Jackson. I can only try to push them in the right direction. Their futures are still uncertain at this time. They need to open their hearts to their mates and make the right choices here. If they don't, numerous hearts will be broken, mine included. Even though it doesn't beat, I can still love. I already love Kara. I love my brother and my coven. The love I feel for Kara supersedes everything else now. I can't allow Kara to go back to Kamaria again. She will not survive it, and neither will I. Jackson and Kevin have already gone through more than most alphas have to deal with in a lifetime. They both had hard lives growing up. Jackson had to train since he was old enough to learn. It is why he is so stoic. He is used to having responsibility heaped on him. He never had a real opportunity to be a kid. It wasn't his fault or his parents' fault. It was something that could have been prevented, except an evil man named Graham refused to back down from a misperceived injustice. Graham had a hand in what Kevin went through, as well. Kevin was ostracized and bullied. He watched as his whole family was torn apart. Graham was at the very root of it all, causing so many people a great deal of pain that they never deserved, all because of his injured petty pride. I was getting nervous waiting to go back to see Kara. Despite knowing that Dr. Gurin would stay with her and protect her if needed, the desire to be with her was overwhelming. I was glad when Brenna and Luna finally finished speaking to Jackson. They had mentioned all the serious highlights. Please excuse me. I need to get to Kara now. I don't want her to wake up alone. You two are exhausted and in need of sleep. You can come to her in the morning. I will watch over her tonight, I told them before walking away. I needed to get to her before she woke up. I want to have a little time alone with her. I will start to woo her the moment she wakes up. Brenna's POV. I didn't know how he knew what had happened inside our pack, but the vampire knew. I guess one of his men did have the gift of clairvoyance. Alexei would gently guide us back to where we needed to be if we got off topic or didn't want to speak about what had happened over the years. Halfway through the conversation, I felt tingles on my hand. Jackson had reached out to comfort me. He could tell that I was about to share something much harder to say than what Kara had experienced with the pack. Kara was the one who had suffered at the hands of the pack, not us. That is, not until they decided to kill our parents. That was a pain that was on another level. Losing our parents like we did was still so hard to talk about. It was unexpected. We haven't been able to recover from it just yet. It was exacerbated by the fact that they did it to take us against our will. What we wanted didn't matter to them. I don't even know if I would have been able to get the words out if he wasn't lending me his support. Once he heard what they had done, Jackson's lips lined out. I knew that he was pressing them together to keep from blurting anything out in anger. He was angry, but it was not aimed at us. He was angry at the pack for what they had done. He didn't seem to be shocked or upset that Kara was a witch. He seemed to be very accepting of her. His only concern was that no harm came to his pack for allowing strangers into it. That already made him 1,000 times better than Paxton was. I had never met a vampire before. Everything I knew about them was from gossip or old books in the pack library. But this man in front of us proudly claimed her as his. It was clear that he was totally smitten with Kara. He had already protected her and us by going to Jackson and begging for us to be allowed entry into Blackadder. Alexei was agitated, and I knew it was because he was concerned for our sister. I felt more welcomed and cared for here in just a few hours than I had at my former pack. Dad and the warriors had accepted us, but the other she-wolves never did. I don't know why I was so willing to trust Alexei, but I did. I knew this man would put his life on the line for Kara, which took a great deal of weight off of me. I had protected both my sisters for so many years. I never realized what a weight it had become lately. I felt like I could now move forward with my life. They were both going to have mates to care for and protect them. Our old pack had been unnaturally scared of Kara being a witch. She never had any training, and no powers could be sensed, so why they feared her is a mystery. They were also intimidated by Luna and me because of our strength. I knew what the real reason was. They didn't have to admit it again. I knew the three of us we considered to be the most attractive females in the pack. That was not my opinion. I couldn't care less about appearance. I never wore makeup and wore my hair in a ponytail daily. I heard it accidentally during my senior year in high school. I needed to use the restroom, and while I was in there, I was privy to a private conversation. I swear Brenna thinks she is the best this pack has to offer, the first girl said. I tried to lean forward to peek through the small opening to see who was speaking, but they had stopped at the first few sinks, and I had gone further down to get privacy. She sure does. She and her sisters. I agree that Luna and Brenna are both good fighters, but why try to seduce all the guys? I mean, you can't have them all. Leave some for the rest of us, a second voice stated, then sighed in frustration. I have been trying to get Rex's attention for the last 2 years, but he is so focused on Brenna he can't see anyone else. Plus, Why is Paxton so focused on that freaking witch? She doesn't even belong here. He should have sent her away now that Beta James knows she is not a wolf. She needs to leave. Paxton made his choice, and Lisa is his Luna now. Yet I have caught him myself on several occasions, watching Kara whenever she is around. I mean, can you imagine him actually liking her? Why would he? A third voice spoke with contempt. I don't mind them talking about me, their opinion doesn't matter. I am fine with it. They are just jealous. But Kara didn't have any choice in who she was. Dad and Sayers, Sir Shao, were the ones who had fallen in love. I know why Mom is withdrawn around her. I understand, Dad had fallen in love with Sayers without a mate bond. Their love was real. Having Kara around, looking just like her mother, had to have been hard. I felt bad for Mom, but it was Dad's fault for chasing after a witch and not trying harder to find his mate. Dad had explained to Mom that he didn't think he had a mate. He had chosen her because he was drawn to her. I don't think that his explanation helped things. Mom became even more withdrawn after that discussion at the dinner table a few years ago. It was right after Kara didn't get her wolf. Dad was angry that he refused to allow Sayers to take her. His life had been difficult trying to protect Kara over the years. He just stopped doing it altogether after she was found to be wolfless. So even though I was 16 and Luna was 14, we started to take her protection up ourselves. It took a little while to get the message out to the pack. Eventually, the message was out. Everyone knew that if they hurt Kara, they should expect what they did in return. I stepped out of the stall. The one nearest the door saw me first, as the other two faced her. Once the blood drained out of her face, the other two turned to see what scared her so badly. They immediately grabbed their things and headed to the door, but how could I let them go so easily? They spoke so badly about all of us, they clearly needed to be made an example of, since they felt so free to malign us. Brenna, hey, I didn't realize you were in here. We were just leaving. I hope you have a good day. The first speaker tried to downplay it as if I didn't hear what they said. I blocked them at the door and said, I look forward to sparring with each of you in the next few days. No, I refuse to fight you. Don't you usually fight with the guys? Why pick on us? The third girl, who had spoken the harshest, asked. You don't have to fight. I am fine with you standing there and taking a beating. You three better leave my sisters alone, both of them, or I will deal with you all. That includes leaving their names out of your vicious mouths. If I hear you saying something about either of them, we will fight right then, I told them. You can't threaten us. We will report you, the third one replied. Please do. I can't wait to tell Alpha Paxton and Luna Lisa you three think it is okay not to use their titles when you speak about them behind their backs. How well do you think that is going to go over? I asked them. I watched as two of them shuddered in fright before I warned them again. I don't care if you want to talk about me. Go ahead and do it. I can take it, but I will never allow you to speak about Kara or Luna. Try me again and see how it turns out for you, I told them before moving out of the way and letting them leave. They couldn't run away fast enough. They all gave me wide berth after that. They were repeating what they heard others say. At the root of it was Lisa and her viperous friends. Jackson stood up after Alexei ran off to go sit with Kara. I don't think I have ever seen a man so excited to watch someone sleep in a hospital bed before. His obvious love for Kara made me smile. Jackson reached down to take my hand and said, "Let me take you to your new home. Luna can spend the night in one of our extra rooms." I blushed again as I understood what that meant. We headed for his SUV, still parked in front of the hospital. We would be staying together in our room, and I grew nervous. Did his parents not need to meet me first? I was formerly the beta's daughter but had been demoted to warrior. I had been stripped of my rank to make it easier for Paxton and his goons to control me. They did Luna the same way. We were no longer recognized as beta females anymore. It seemed as if Luna might be getting her own Luna title. That was the only explanation for Alexei's comment. I hope she gets a good man. She deserves to be loved and doted on. From what I am seeing, we have all hit the jackpot so far. I can barely control the thoughts I am having about Jackson right now. I felt his hand tighten a little on mine, and I knew he could tell exactly what I was thinking. I knew my face was red. I had been caught thinking illicit thoughts about my mate. I am glad it is dark now, hiding it a little. Jackson takes us right up to the top level of a really nice pack house. I will get your thumbprint added to the system in the morning. I want you to have full access to everything you need. I will have food sent up for you. There is a robe for you to wear while I get someone to bring you some clothes. I am sure my mother will be on that for you both in the morning. Sleep well. Our door is the next one down the hall. I put you as close to us as I could. But I didn't want to disrupt your sleep, Jackson told her. The meaning was clear to both of us. Jackson was going to complete our bond tonight. I was both excited and scared. I have never done this before. I have no idea what I need to do here. My mother gave all three of us the talk but was uncomfortable answering our questions. She got a book on the subject, which was pretty informative. I didn't know I would have to try to figure it out tonight. I always thought I could get a refresher on the subject before it came up. I don't want to look stupid in front of Jackson. I guess I will follow his lead. Luna hugged me before entering her room. Jackson quietly led me to our room, and I suddenly felt really shy. Am I going to disappoint him? Jackson's POV, I could feel how nervous she was, but I plan on having her fully marked and mated before I introduce her to the pack. I was never going to give her up. She is mine, and I will fight to the death for her. Now I knew how Alexei felt. He was so anxious about his mate getting away right after she arrived. I almost wished that he had told me that one of the rogues was my mate. I would have stayed at the gate all afternoon until they arrived. I would have made sure that Paxton knew it was already too late. He would have to give it up, especially since all three of them had mates. It has been a while since I have heard of something so disgusting. How could Paxton have gone along with that plan? How vile was the Kamaria pack? I was going to have the council look into it. I will call them in the morning. Right now, I just wanted to be with my mate. I was so turned on right now I don't even know how I was able to sound calm to Luna when we got to her room. I was ready to pick Brenna up and run to our room with her, but I knew she was anxious. I was anxious too, but I had done what my fathers had told me. Their own cautionary tales they told me had helped. They had learned the hard way that having your mate was the best you could have. I was glad that I had waited for Brenna. She might encounter a few jealous she-wolves here. But she wouldn't have to face the embarrassment of any of them knowing me in a physical way. I would have been sick with guilt if I hadn't waited for her. Her innocent eyes were looking up at me with love and care. I would never want those emotions to dim for any reason. This is our room, I told her. I had already mentioned it was in front of Luna. She already knew that. There was a full 1,600 square foot apartment for high-ranking visitors on either side of our suite. It was double that size, with 4 large bedrooms. I was glad my father's mentioned getting the master room soundproofed. I was really thanking them for that now as I led Brenna to our room. You can change up the decor here if you want to. My mother had decorated it for me, but I want you to be happy and comfortable here. So, whatever changes you want to make are fine with me, I told her. It is beautiful. I can't see any changes that need to be made until we have pups able to walk around, Brenna replied and then blushed again. I love it when she does that. I already knew I would keep trying to get her to blush for me for the rest of our lives. I can't wait to meet our pups, too, I told her as I tipped her face back up for her to look into my eyes. I knew she would find comfort in the fact that I wanted her, and only her, to be my Luna. I knew she had doubts about us. I could feel them. I wanted her to know that from the moment I met her, I was hers. I don't have any doubts about us at all. I don't need her to be vetted by my friends or family. She is my mate. They will all love and accept her, just like I did. I felt her walls come down at seeing I was being completely honest with her. She felt like heaven in my arms. Her body called out to me, and I didn't wait to let her know how much I wanted her with the kiss I placed on her lips. It was full of the love and longing I had for her. I picked her up, carrying her into our bedroom, kicking the door shut behind me. I didn't want Luna to hear anything that would be happening between us tonight. I gently let Brenna's feet hit the floor. I already hated the loss of holding her in my arms. I ripped the remaining buttons off my shirt as I tore it off. I couldn't wait to have her in my arms again, with nothing between us. Brenna was staring at my chest. Instead of the disgust I had felt earlier with Lena and Corey looking at me, I felt proud of the lust that I saw shining in my mate's eyes. She tentatively reached out to me, and I stepped forward for her hand to connect to my body. She ran her palm over my heart and then moved toward my abs. She started tracing them with her finger, and I had never felt this kind of desire before. Her touch ignited a fire within me, and I couldn't stop myself from reaching out and grabbing the bottom of her t-shirt. She nodded at my unasked question and bit her lip. I hope that she will get more vocal about what she likes and doesn't like soon. I will need to know what she likes. Seeing her standing there before me, I couldn't contain my growl of appreciation. She wasn't wearing a bra. She stood there watching me as I took her in. I was glad we were marked so she would know exactly how I felt. I led her over to the bed and picked her up to deposit her in the middle. I was already removing the rest of my clothes quickly. I had removed my pants and shoes before I decided to keep my boxers on. No need to scare her. She would never relax enough to enjoy the pleasure I wanted her to feel by worrying that I might not fit inside her. The goddess made her for me. I was definitely going to fit. Brenna had slid her leggings off while I was undressing. She was a vision of perfection lying there in front of me. I got on the bed and kissed her as I placed my hand on the inside of her thigh. Her whimper made me stand even further at attention. I need to get her relaxed. I doubt I will be able to last for long the first time. The closer my hand got to her center, the louder her sounds became. Yes, I needed to get her ready because I was ready to explode right now. I settled between her legs and let my legs hang off the bed. I was too broad to be able to fit properly between her legs, but she bent her knees for me and spread her legs further apart, offering herself up to me. I didn't really know what I was doing, but they told me to listen to her. That she would tell me what she liked the most. She was nervous, too, but she tried to relax. I buried my face in her and went all in. She seemed to like it best. I could feel the love she had for me running between us. I hoped she realized I loved her just as much as she loved me. This might hurt a little, but it will be gone soon, I murmured into her ear after breaking off our kiss. I lined up and pushed forward a little. She was still slick, but she was also very tight. I needed to help her get past this to complete our mating. I was able to get her to forget about being anxious, as she was moaning my name again. I then bit the bullet and pushed in. She slightly cried at the intrusion, but I stayed still to see if she was okay. She nodded at me to start moving again, and I moved slowly at first. Goddess, she is so tight around me. I have no idea how I have managed to keep from filling her already. Brenna was made for me. I had to grit my teeth and focus on keeping from coming before she was ready. It was the sweetest torture I have ever experienced. Brenna started moaning again before begging, "Faster, Jackson." The words were no sooner off her lips than I gave her what she wanted, what I wanted. I only made it about 8 strokes before she cried out, "Oh goddess! Jackson, yes, right there, yes." That did it for me. I have never felt more relaxed and happy in my life. I cannot imagine why anyone would take it chosen. Life would not be worth living without Brenna by my side. I reluctantly pulled out of her. I immediately missed her the second we were no longer connected. I tenderly cleaned her up and returned the rag to the bathroom to put in the basket. I saw my face as I turned to walk back into the bedroom and stopped short. I was smiling. The happiness I felt at finding my mate was obvious to anyone looking at me. I wasn't necessarily frowning before, but I usually kept my face neutral. I didn't really show my emotions. But I can't seem to keep the smile off my face right now. I quickly admired my new mark while I was in there. It had my large black wolf protectively guarding a smaller golden wolf. I will protect her for the rest of our lives. I don't think I have ever seen a golden wolf before. I went back into our bedroom, and she was already asleep. I got in behind her and pulled her gently into my arms. She made a content sound before going right back to sleep. I closed my eyes and fell asleep quickly, with the love of my life cradled in my arms. Alexei's POV Kara had been resting fitfully through the night and had multiple nightmares. I dragged my chair over to her while she slept. I kept my hand on hers, and she calmed down at my touch. It was like she knew I was there to protect her, even in her dreams. I didn't think that Paxton was stupid enough to try to climb over the wall to take her back, at least not right now. I worried she would wake up and be alone in a strange place. I couldn't let that happen. I had fallen asleep between 3 and 4 am. I was exhausted, even though my species did not require a lot of sleep. The worry and fear I had felt for Kara had been draining. I have never been so concerned for anyone other than Anton and my mother on this kind of level. My head was currently resting on her uninjured leg. I was facing her feet, as I would not allow anyone to come in and catch me by surprise. Anyone who wanted to get to her would have to get through me first. I woke up quickly when I felt her fingers running through my hair. It was such a soothing feeling as her fingers stroked through my hair. I didn't want her to ever stop. The feeling on my scalp was delicious. She tried to calm me and comfort me even though I was there to protect and watch over her. My mate is such a compassionate person. I pretended to stay asleep, controlling my breathing to keep it even. I have to admit that I was enjoying her actions way too much. She continued to stroke my hair for a few more minutes before saying, "I know you are awake. Can you tell me your name? Do you feel a connection between us? Do you know why I feel so drawn to you?" I reluctantly raised my head up and turned to look at her. Even after surgery and her hair a mess, she was gorgeous. "My name is Alexei. I live in the vampire coven next to this pack. One of my men saw you in a vision a week ago. He just had a second vision concerning you and your sisters. We knew you were coming here, so I went to speak to Jackson about it. Yvonne mentioned that the men chasing you would catch you if you were not immediately allowed into the pack. He knew you had been hurt, so we were ready to help you when you arrived. You are safe here. We will protect you. How are you feeling?" I asked her, concerned that she was in pain. "I can deal with a little pain. I am used to it at this point." "I see you managed to gloss over speaking about the connection between us. Is that a deliberate omission on your part? Is it because you have an issue with me being a defective hybrid?" Kara asked me. That question broke my heart. How much has she gone through to think so harshly about herself? No, that is nowhere near the truth. There is nothing wrong with you, Kara. In my eyes, you are perfection, and I already love you. I don't care what or who you are. You are my mate. That is the bond between us. You are more important to me than you could ever know. I will tell you who you are. You are mine. Mine to hold, mine to love, mine to protect. There is nothing flawed about you. I plan on courting you until you accept me. I will love you. I have been waiting so long to find you. Please, do not just reject me just because I am a vampire. Allow me to prove to you how much you mean to me," I begged her. "I need her to give me a chance to show her how strong our bond can be. Like wolves, we need time together to flourish and grow our bond." I hoped she could see that I was telling her the truth. I could see her searching my eyes for the hint of a lie. She would not find it a lie. I was absolutely serious about taking my mate. She will be my wife. I will love and protect her for the rest of my days. I could see her nod at me, hopefully in agreement with what I had just told her. I hope that means that she will be giving me a fair chance. People had different opinions about vampires. Some of the rogue vampires have given us a bad name. We feed off animals we hunt for food or from the blood donations we pay people to give. We do not drink from humans or other species. We needed blood, but we would never kill someone to take it from them. I will get the doctor to come and check on you. I want to make sure you are healing, and everything is okay, I told her as I stepped into the hallway to stop a nurse. A few minutes later, Dr. Hill entered the room and smiled at Kara. He needs to stop doing that right now. She is not an unmated wolf. She isn't marked yet but has found her mate in me. I am more than accepting of her and what she needs. She listened as he told her about her injury. She seemed surprised to hear how dangerous it had been to her. She is so much tougher than she even realizes. He spoke to her as he checked her injury. I tried to hold back my hiss of anger as he touched her calf as he checked it. Your injury is healing up very well, Kara. No heat from it tells me that the antibiotics in your fore are doing their job. You might be able to get checked out of here tomorrow if you continue to keep healing at this rate, Dr. Hill told her before excusing himself from the room. A knock sounded at the door a few minutes later. The door opened, and my brother, Anton, and his wife entered the room. As usual, they had the children with them. I am always happy to see it as it has given me hope that one day I, too, would find my mate. Maxim and Milena raced over to hug me. They were hybrids, both wolf and vampire. They were already ridiculously strong at just a little over 5 years old. Anton was carrying Boris, who was 3 years old, and Cheryl was holding their infant, Risa, who had recently turned 1 year old. Their 2 youngest children were just vampires. They were a wonderful family. Anton and Cheryl had a love I have been jealous of for years. I wanted to find my mate and have my own children, only to be disappointed time and again. I want to have a home life like they did. It would be a dream of mine to build a home for my own family. Just like Anton had built for his family. We had money and a lot of it. I look forward to the day when Kara accepts me. I will wait for that day so Kara can decide what kind of home she wants me to build for her. All of their children had blonde hair, just like Anton and Cheryl had. The only difference between the children was that the twins' eyes had more of a golden color to them, instead of the more yellow color denoting us as vampires. I loved my nieces and nephews very much. Being around them has made me want children of my own. I knew that my children would love my brother just as much as his children loved me. It made me smile to realize that I may have everything that I have ever dreamed of very soon. Sorry to come so early, but the children insisted on seeing their uncle Alexei. Cheryl and I were excited to get to meet you, Kara. The children refused to wait. We are outnumbered, so we had to give in sooner or later, Anton told us with a wry smile. He doted on his children. We never thought that we would be able to have our own children. Despite our being royal descendants, it was rare for vampires to be able to have children. It had seemed like an impossible dream until Anton found Cheryl. He fell for her hard and right off the bat, despite her being mated and married. I suddenly felt guilty for teasing him about how quickly he had fallen in love. Now that I have fallen hard, I can understand what he had gone through. Hi, I am Cheryl, and this is my husband, Anton. He and Alexei are brothers, Cheryl told Kara before she introduced each child to Kara. I was so proud of the children. They were polite and on their best behavior. I am sure they warned them to behave on the way here. I watched Kara's eyes light up as she looked at the children. I could tell she wanted children, too, which made me sigh in relief. I watched as Cheryl handed Risa over to Kara to hold before pulling the chair on the other side of the bed closer to Kara. Cheryl told Kara some of her backstory, including the part where she was a she-wolf and former Luna of a pack. She described how she had accepted Anton and was willing to become a vampire herself to live out her days with Anton. I knew at that point that either Yvonne or Robert had outed me. They wanted to welcome her into our family. It meant a lot that they were doing that for me. I could see Kara appreciating how warmly she was being welcomed. I could see that she was very hesitant with them at first. It wasn't because we were vampires. She clearly had a long-standing fear of others' actions against her drilled into her. She was ready to shut down if needed. She wasn't obvious about it. You wouldn't have even noticed she was doing it unless you were watching her carefully. Having the children here with us helped. Kara warmed up quickly to them. I was praying she would be willing to give me a chance. I could tell that she already liked my brother and his family. Alexei, I heard from Robert last night that Kevin is supposed to come here this morning. He mentioned that you had told him it was important. Is it more good news? Cheryl asked. More good news? Kara asked with a frown. Yes, I received good news, and others have as well. I am sure your sisters will be here very soon to fill you in. I had one of the nurses mind-link Jackson that you are awake. I knew that you would want to see them. They are having breakfast, and I asked them to bring you a plate when they come. The moon goddess guided you here. She protected you on your journey, I replied. A few minutes later, another knock sounded on the door. Kara's sisters arrived with their hands full of food and drinks for Kara. I could tell that Jackson wanted me to exit the room. Cheryl nodded at us. I knew that she would protect Kara if it came down to it. When I exited the room, I saw 2 guards standing outside Kara's door. I turned to look at Jackson, and before I could ask, he said, "We have visitors. Paxton is at our gate again, and he brought a council representative with him." Jackson's POV. I was so happy waking up next to my mate. Instead of dreading the day, I look forward to introducing her to my parents and siblings. I was relaxed and ready to start my day, as I couldn't wait to show Brenna off to my pack as well. I plan on introducing her to them today in a town hall tonight. I slept in as I was going to skip training. I needed to christen our shower this morning and think about other areas to christen later on tonight. I will never get tired of hearing Brenna's cries of pleasure. Clothes had been brought for both Brenna and Luna, and I took them to the dining hall for breakfast. I got the link from a nurse that Kara was awake when we entered the dining hall to get breakfast. I knew her sisters would want to bring her some food. When we came, it might help her heal even faster. I was excited for Kevin to get here and meet his Luna. At just a year younger than I was, I knew that Kevin had been hoping to meet his mate soon. It was the main reason he was throwing the ball in 2 months' time. He was actively searching for his true mate. I am so happy that his search, just like mine, is now over. Luna will be happy as she will only be a little over an hour's drive away from both of her sisters. Once we got Paxton dealt with, they could split the difference and meet each other in the city that lay between our 2 packs. I couldn't stop myself from putting my arm across the back of Brenna's chair. It was a silent announcement to everyone here that she was mine. I wanted everyone here to know that I had found my mate. I would scream it from the rooftop if I could. I have never been happier in my life. I had just finished eating when I got a mind link from Robert. Jax, that charming alpha from yesterday is here again. He has a member of the council with him. I called the council and found out that she is an assistant to one of the council members. She is requesting entry into our pack. I planned to allow her entry, but I was not going to allow the alpha or his ranked wolves to enter. Is that okay with you? I don't want to push him too hard. He looks like he is about to explode in anger. We didn't immediately allow him entry. I don't trust him at all. I wouldn't put it past him to try to take the girls if they enter, Robert told me. I agree. Let her in, but don't let Paxton or his ranked wolves enter the pack. They can wait outside, they are not welcome here. If this were important, the council would have sent an actual member, not an assistant. I am taking Brenna and Luna to the hospital to stay with Kara. I don't see any reason to make the girls stressed out by seeing Paxton. I will be at the gate in 10 minutes. I will link Chase to meet the council representative now. Please tell her that we are on our way. I linked him back. Brenna, please grab a plate of food and some snacks for Kara. Luna, would you mind getting you and your sisters some drinks to take over with you? Grab several. Kara already has visitors, and I am sure that more are coming. I have something I need to deal with, I asked them. I am sure that Brenna already knew what was happening, but I was much calmer today than I was last night. Today, I am looking forward to ruining Paxton's day. I already knew Alexei would be happy to deal with Clay. Why not when they came here so willingly? It will be a lesson in letting them know they have gone too far. They need to think hard about returning here after today. It would be better to allow him to do that without the council standing there to see it. That way, Clay will already be healed when she returns to the gate. I could completely understand where he was coming from in this. Dr. Hill had been very clear that Kara could have died if she hadn't been treated when she was. It might have been too late to save her if Paxton had taken her back to Kamaria Pack. I couldn't imagine losing my mate so soon after finding her. I don't think a second chance mate is possible for vampires. He would have lost his only love and never had another chance to find his mate. I was completely behind Alexei dealing with Clay. I kissed Brenna goodbye outside Kara's room. I did it right in front of the nurse's station. I knew that would help get the word out that I had found my mate. Cheryl already knew what I needed her to do. I knew that she could tell that Brenna was my mate. I didn't want to tell her that Luna was about to be her daughter-in-law. I wanted her to be just as happy when it happens as Kevin will be at finding Luna. I had already asked my fathers to go to the gate with me. They were waiting outside the old pack house as we stopped to pick them up. Anton and Alexei were sitting on the last row, staying out of the sun. He and Anton could take the full sun for around an hour before they needed to protect themselves. This was not going to take an hour. I told my fathers what had happened at the Kamaria Pack and that one of the girls was my mate, and one was Alexei's mate. I didn't spoil the upcoming surprise. I had already linked Chase to grab an SUV and asked him and Blaine to go to the gate. I am going to have Chase deal with the council member. My brother Chase and Blake, Stella, and Truett's son, were my CO betas. I trusted them with my life, just like all of my ranked wolves. I hadn't gotten them up to speed yet, but I would after I filled my dads in on what had happened. Brandon, my father, and former alpha of this pack, was silent as he thought about how we needed to proceed with this. Justin was also thinking about what needed to be done. Like my ranked wolves, they would stand with me to protect my mate. They were not going to allow the girls to be taken away. I didn't tell them how abrasive Alpha Paxton was. They would find out soon enough. I knew they would see the show after the council member was allowed into my pack. While Brandon decides what we need to do moving forward. I linked your mother. She is over the moon that you found your mate. She is a little upset that she hasn't been introduced yet. But she and Sasha are already heading to the hospital right now. I assure you that no one will hurt your mate or her sisters, Jax. Not even the council rep, Justin told me. The slight fear that had been crawling up my spine stopped. My mate and her sisters were safe. My mother and Sasha were two of our pack's strongest female fighters. There was nothing to worry about now. The girls were safe. My mother is not scared to go toe-to-toe with anyone, let alone this representative. My mother would be all in to protect my mate, no matter who she was up against. I pulled up and parked next to Chase's SUV. I headed for the gate where he and Blaine stood shoulder to shoulder with Robert. They were already up to speed from the sound of it as Paxton tried to threaten them to open the gate. He was acting like he could make that call on his own. This was not his pack. He was not in charge here, and he needed to calm down. I doubt he would. I planned on doubling down today and pushing him as far as possible. There was no way he was taking my mate, or anyone else's, away from here today. I am sorry, Alpha, but you will not be allowed into Blackadder. Not without permission from my Alpha. You can yell all you want. We are only here to allow the council representative inside our pack. You three trying to rush the gate will cause you even more problems. Look up, at either pillar, your actions are being recorded. Stop acting like a petulant child, and act like an alpha for God's sake. We are going to try this one more time. My brother is here, you can speak to him now, but you are not entering our pack. Got it? My brother Chase told him in no uncertain terms. Chase heard us pull up. He knew we were here. I bet Justin had linked him. We were almost there. Chase was Justin's oldest son. He was twins with Liam. I am positive that Liam will be coming here today with Kevin, as he is one of Kevin's betas. It was only fair that he received a strong title. He and Chase were both very strong wolves. Dexter, our other brother, was the other beta for Kevin. Dexter and I were the only children who were not a set of twins. There were a total of 8 of us, and we were a very protective family. I am almost positive that Liam and Dexter will be with him when Kevin arrives. I got straight to business. Pull your vehicle over to the parking area and stop blocking our gate. We are expecting guests today. I will not allow you to prevent a welcome guest from getting entry here. I wasn't happy to see Paxton, even though I knew he was coming. It also let the council member know we didn't want him here. He had a female council member with him. She had the proper ID showing on her lanyard. I am sure that my guards had already confirmed her identification. They knew I would not allow her onto our pack land unless she belonged. She looked young, and I had never met her before. I don't even know her name, but she needed to get one thing straight. I was not going to entertain any part of Paxton's lies today. He would be sorry for pushing his agenda this far. I knew our laws. Each girl had mates, so that chosen rudeness is not going to work here. No matter what this lady says, I won't let the girls be forced to leave my pack. We aren't going anywhere, Jackson. Open this gate and let us in the now. We are here with Michaela Sharp. She is here to allow us to take our she-wolves back, Paxton boldly announced. Actually, she is just an assistant. She works for council member Glenn Floyd. She doesn't have the authority to force us to do anything. She is here to speak to the she-wolves involved to see what happened. Then, she is to report back to council member Floyd. You need to stop lying, Alpha Paxton. You are still at it, day 2, and still can't manage to tell the truth to anyone, Robert rebutted. I couldn't stop my grin at Paxton. He thinks he is in charge here, and he isn't. If he wants to be in charge somewhere, he can go ahead and head back to his pack to do it. I won't be allowing it here. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.